Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers review pre-match, but it's a pre-match press conference. The reaction ahead of the game against Ross County tomorrow. Michael Beale and Leon Balogun were put up for the press earlier on at the Rangers Training Centre, and our man Euan Robertson was there to speak to both. A lot of big talking points to emerge, as ever, from especially from Michael Beale's press conference, namely in terms of team selection for tomorrow, a little bit on transfers as well. It was as lively as ever, Euan.
Yeah, it certainly was. It'll probably be the quieter at the press conference of the next two games. Obviously, PSV coming up, and then obviously the Old Firm next weekend. But there was a lot in it, and I actually think Michael Beale spoke really, really well today. I know sometimes he gets criticism for his press conferences, but I thought he spoke really, really well. There was a line about not having to convince any player to play for Rangers on Glenn Kamara, which I think was a really strong line, and it shows his attitude. If you don't want to be at the club, then you won't be at the club. It's as simple as that. And I think that's a very positive thing for Michael Beale to say. The headline news is that Kamara's exit's imminent. It looks like he didn't say who it was, obviously, but it looks like it'll be Leeds United. I think Tyler Adams went to Bournemouth last week, which sped up the transfer on that front. So it looks like Glenn Kamara is on his way out, and I think Yanis Hadji will be on his way out as well this window.
Yeah, I think Leeds United is a great move for Kamara, I've got to admit. It was interesting what Michael Beale had to say on that. Do go and check out the clips on our social media pages, folks, for Michael Beale's answer on Kamara. In terms of team selection tomorrow, Euan, I thought was interesting. He said that Ridvan is back training, but he won't travel with the squad. But Tom Lawrence and Kamara Roofe are back in the matchday squad. You'd imagine they will feature at some point tomorrow.
Yeah, I think one of them might start, actually. I think you're looking maybe more towards Kamara Roofe to start than Tom Lawrence, but they'll both be involved. And like you said, Derek, go and watch the full video on our YouTube channel, or read it. If you want to read it, you can read it on our website. Really interesting what you have to say about both players. He views both players as not necessarily starters, but to be in contention to start this season. I thought it was very fascinating, because I don't think many people would, if you're getting asked for your strongest Rangers 11, would Tom Lawrence or Kamara Roofe be in it? Most people would probably say no, but Beale obviously thinks they can come in and do a job. And he was asked later about Kamara Roofe in the press conference, and I think the question was, can Kamara Roofe nail down the starting spot at number 9? And Michael Beale said, yeah, he can. Every top team needs 3 strikers, and Rangers will have that in Kamara, Cyril Dessers, and Danilo. So he definitely bigged them up. So I think Tom Lawrence scored a brilliant goal in midweek. It was against Hamilton in a B team game. I've seen the video going around. So I think he's coming back into it. So yeah, I mean, it's in the injury front as well. I don't think there's any player in the whole squad who's out, apart from Yilmaz. But Yilmaz is training. I think all the players are training. Michael Beale said, how often does that happen at Rangers?
Yeah. That's an interesting point. Roofe, for me, I'm still to be convinced by the strikers that have came in, Danilo and Dessers. Not that Dessers did well in midweek, but for me, on his day, if 100% fit, what striker am I choosing? I'm still picking Kamara Roofe at this moment in time. Tom Lawrence, I think if they can get him fit, then I can see what Michael Beale's reasoning is with regards to him featuring a lot this season. He's a top player, and fingers crossed that Rangers can keep him free from injury. Interesting, you mentioned on Ridvan as well, he won't travel. That's Borna for me, Euan, we've discussed this on the video. I think he's been pretty steady this season. I've got no qualms about Borna at this moment in time. However, can you see perhaps Dujon Sterling coming in at one of the fullback positions tomorrow, like we've seen last week against Morton, perhaps?
I don't think so. I think that Borna Barisic will play. It's also a massive game in midweek against PSV, but it's so important to beat Ross County. You can't. I think Celtic play St Johnstone at home this weekend, don't they? And that's a banker. I know Celtic lost to Kamara, but I mean St
Johnstone fans will be commenting in now, unhappy with that being written off by Euan there.
They've had a dreadful start to the season, St Johnstone. So Rangers need to go into the Old Firm next week 3 points behind, and if they can win that, then they go level in points with Celtic, and that would apply pressure on another half of the city. So I think Rangers need to go to Ross County and just think about the task at hand, and that's Ross County. They've had a decent start to the season under Malcolm Mackay. I think they played some good stuff at times. If Rangers can maybe, get out the traps and put on a bit of a good performance and get a couple of goals up, then maybe you can look at, resting a couple of players. But I think there will be rotation. I think with the amount of games that Rangers have had to play every 3 days at the start of the season, it's not ideal. So I think you will see a little bit of rotation. Obviously, likes of Sam Lammers, Danilo didn't start in midweek. In midfield, there's lots of options as well. I don't think you'll see Ryan Jack in the squad.
No.
Tomorrow, I think John Lundstrom will probably come in. In defence, it's Leon Balogun. I think Leon Balogun will play. I think it'll be Leon Balogun and either Suter or Goldson. I'm not sure who will give a rest to. Maybe Goldson.
Well, our predicted teams will be out on the website soon, folks, and you can have a look at it. I've got Balogun in as well. I'll let you guess which player I've got dropping out. But I think Leon, I know that you shouldn't read too much into the player that gets put up for the press, but in my opinion, I think Big Leon will get the nod tomorrow against Ross County. What did he say on transfers, you and Michael Beale?
He was kept his cards close to his chest, didn't he? And obviously, so in the press conference, it's the media, but Michael Beale obviously does a separate interview with Sky. Yeah. And I think in Sky Sports, he said 1 or 2 of the names that have been floating around are accurate. Obviously, we don't get to watch that before we go into the press conference. He basically hinted that it could be a very busy end to the transfer window. Read into that what you may. He's talked a lot about one player coming in. I think he mentioned that in his Sky interview. He certainly mentioned it in his press conference. I think it's a fortnight ago. Or there's been so many press conferences recently because there's obviously pre-match, post-match to every game. So it's difficult to remember exactly what one it was. But he keeps talking about bringing one player. It could be 1. It could be 2. I think a centre-back will come in. I think it'll be a loan deal. If you look at the names that have been branded about, I think one of them is very much accurate. There'll probably be movement in that in the next couple of days, I believe. But I think a centre-back will come in. Maybe I can have a versatile forward as well. He said the business might depend on who goes out and having to replace him. I think Kamara's away, and I think Hadji will be away as well this window. So I think there'll be a bit of movement, certainly. You never know what can happen as well. I know that Michael Beale said the budget and what he can do in the transfer window is not going to be affected by what happens in midweek against PSV, but there is more money available. You do get more money as a club if you're in the Champions League compared to the Europa League. So I think that if Rangers qualify for the Champions League, I know it was quite famously last year that Giovanni Van Bronckhorst came out in that post-match interview when emotions were running high and he was kind of asked, thinking bring some more players now, and he said, I hope to, and it didn't materialise. So, I don't think Michael Beale's going to make that mistake and be so bold in what he's saying, but I think there'll be a bit of movement in and out before the end of the window.
Yeah, and of course, if you do qualify for the Champions League, and a more attractive proposition for certain players as well. So, I think there will be a bit of activity between now and the window closing. I
don't think it'll be Eden Hazard, Derek.
Well,
I don't think it'll
Paul
be
McTaggart says reports of Eden Hazard seen in the Blue Lagoon this afternoon. We do love a good old WhatsApp rumour, Euan, but can't see that happening myself.
I think there's more chance of seeing Eden Hazard in the Blue Lagoon than Ibrox, to be honest. Given his recent issues at Real Madrid, I think he's quite fond of the fast food, Mr. Hazard.
Yeah. Other great chippies are available in and around Glasgow, but that certainly made me chuckle, that one, that I've got to admit. There's an interesting point, of course. We've seen Celtic making a move for Lewis Palma, a player that Rangers were linked with earlier in the summer. We're told that there was no interest in him. However, that position, Euan, Michael Beale did touch on that he's looking for a Ryan Kent replacement. He's a decent player, there's no doubt about it. Celtic will be shelling out quite a fair amount of cash for him. Is he one that you worry Rangers might have missed out on, not going for him?
Not really. I think Rangers will have done their due diligence on the player, and there's no doubt. I've watched a bit of him. I don't probably know as much of him as you do, Derek. I know you kind of spoke to a couple of people who kind of knew more about him. I'll hold my hands up. I don't know too much about him, but I've watched kind of YouTube clips like everyone does, and you shouldn't really judge a player upon there. I've not dived into the stats watch them back on a period of time. But just generally on that point, missing the sort of Ryan Kent type of player who can commit people, use pace, go by somebody. I do think that's the position where Michael Beale might look at in the window as well as centre half. I think that's clearly the two positions. The other point is, can Rabbi Matondo continue his recent form and be that guy? I wrote about him yesterday, of course, and I think his recent performances have been really encouraging, and his numbers kind of back that up. He's taking on players more. He's having more of a goal threat, all those things as well. Just watching him, he looks like he's full of confidence, and he's absolutely rapid. He must be the fastest player at the club.
How far away was he from the PSV defender in mid? Was it 20 yards or 15 yards?
15 yards. And he kind of got ahead of him. He's lightning quick. It was a Livingston game that I was at, and I was watching him, and I actually could not believe how fast he was. He was absolutely rapid. And Sima's quick as well. Sima's quick. So there is two players like that, but I think from a technical point of view, I think Ryan Matondo is ahead of Sima. He's got better feet. Technically, he's a better player. Sima's maybe more powerful, and I think that's an important factor in terms of maybe who plays against PSV from the start. I think one of them will definitely start. So, I mean, can Matondo do it? It's easy to get carried away. I wrote this in my piece, isn't it? It's very much like recency bias, and what they do in the last game very much kind of frames the narrative. Matondo needs to do that week in, week out. He's got to keep taking these opportunities to show he can do that. But I think it'll be interesting into the window. It really will. And then you've got the Old Firm, and it's just a huge week for Rangers, isn't it? It's a massive week.
As it normally is at Glasgow Rangers. Dublin Bears, just on Lawrence, says, delighted to hear Tom Lawrence is back. That's like a new signing. I think he is captain material. Well, he was skipper down at Derby County for many a season. So he does have those leadership qualities. Leon Balogun also spoke, Euan. Any interesting takes from him? I did watch the press conference. I like hearing Leon speak. He talks well. I liked a little bit about Klopp, Jurgen Klopp moaning about the amount of games and says you just got to get on with things and deal with it.
Yeah, maybe he's a Man United fan or something, doesn't he? Have a wee pop at Jurgen Klopp. Leon Balogun's a fantastic speaker. I think he speaks really, really well. A lot of interesting points about Balogun. I asked him about John Souttar. Obviously, rivals in a sense for that centre-back position. He spoke glowingly about John Souttar. He actually said there's a couple of things that he wants to copy from John Souttar's game. Obviously, I followed that question up with, well, what is it? And he talked about how quickly he moves his feet and his pressing ability. And he talked about how there's no... It's a really nice line about how there's no room for being sour or bitter at Rangers. They're all in it together. They've all got the same goals. They want to be successful at the club, and you need a big squad for that. It's not as if people are like, well, he's playing and they spit the dummy out of the pram. Leon Balogun's not that sort of player. He spoke really, really well.
Yeah. I do like hearing him speak. And go and check the press conferences out, folks, on our YouTube channel. Both Michael Beale and Leon Balogun. Huge game tomorrow as Rangers head north to Dingwall. I'd imagine that they've already departed and set off and head up there the day before you.
As I was leaving Auchenhow earlier, the buses were there to take them up. So imagine if they stay overnight tonight, and it's too early to travel up in the morning of the game.
Leave at middle of the night.
Yeah, no, only suckers.
As you'll be doing.
I was going to say, as myself, we'll be setting off at, I think it's 7 a.m. tomorrow to get up to Dingwall to make sure that we've got the best coverage for the Rangers review. So 7 a.m. start tomorrow. I can't say I'm looking forward to the journey, but it'll be good to get up there and to take in the game.
Yeah, absolutely superb. There you go, folks. Euan will be up there covering the game. You've got all your usual pre-match and post-match reaction from there. We're also off out this evening for a bit of a Rangers review night at the Hilton Hotel. Of course, it's the Danish evening as Brian Laudrup, Peter Lovenkrands and Eric Bo Anderson come back to the city to reminisce about their time at Ibrox. If you're heading to the event, then come on over and have a chat with us if you're out and about. We're all going along with Stevie, Martin and Adam are going to be there as well. Joshua is going to be there also, so cannot wait for that. So thanks to everyone for tuning in to the show. As ever, it is greatly appreciated, and we'll speak to you again a little later on. Bye for now.